they closed our borders. Punch newspaper and another newspaper were complaining that soldier men had punctured their tires and all of that stuff. So it's a reflection. Now, I'm one of the people who have advocated that we should not be having a checkpoint. You should have maybe a van somewhere that you can radio and say cover. Over. I thought it's cover.
Over and out.
But my point is, we should have such, because the gun. I don't know if you guys have been paintballing. That thing has this. It has
that's
this.
A paintball gun.
That's just a paintball gun, and it has this. It pumps you up.
Yes,
it pumps you up, and so I can feel. I can understand how they feel, and a little aggravation, and now me. I've seen. Going when I was on the night shift, going home. We were speeding and we did not see the they hide in the dark, and then when you're close they just come up with the torchlight. And go stop there, cock. I'm like, gosh, stop.
I feel all of this falls back to structure. I mean, seeing that security is one of the most sensitive professions in the country, we should have had a standard structure that allows us to describe explicitly the description of that job to every security personnel or anybody that we would employ to become a security personnel in the country. I mean, first of all, every situation should have a means of tackling it by the security personnel, right? So if we're having, how are we going to enforce this? What are we going to do to people? I mean, the only options we see our security personnel have is shoot. That's pretty much what I've noticed over time. I mean, that's why we have a lot of civilians who've been killed by the military and all of that. So I feel like we haven't been able to describe their job very well to them. Especially from the structure.
I mean, they go for training. But there is talking
about that training. They give them training for being a security operator.
I think that they trained them. They were trained. They don't train their emotional intelligence. They don't train their behavioral structure. What they do, because so many people, their personality comes into their job, and that's supposed to be who you are. Supposed to be different from what the job is, because some people have anger issues, and if they don't train that when they are in training, then there is a problem.
Psychological imbalance.
You have a point. If I was a policeman,
what exactly? I think we have an arm called riot police, right?
Yeah, we do.
So why haven't we thought of using the riot police to enforce?
But there's no riot going on.
Exactly.
Okay, because it could be likened. It could be likened.
I understand where it's coming from.
I think it would be lighter if we use
rubber bullets.
employed services of riot police, as opposed to.
I understand where it's coming from. Riot police, has a way of
crowd control.
So maybe
that's what I'm saying. It's not really a crowd issue. You have one person trekking down, going down there, or somebody driving by in a car. So it's more of an interactive
that
thing.
market to be at for.
I feel our mobile police should be given rubber bullets, as you already mentioned, maybe tasers, instead of giving them original bullets and real guns and all of that. Unless they're going to fight.
I think their priorities are misplaced.
Conversation happened before, and the Nigerian government kicked it to the bin. I remember early years in Port Harcourt when there was some rally that Senator Abbey attended, and he was short.
Election rally.
And they had to travel out and stuff, and everybody was talking, oh no, we've got to use rubber bullets, you don't do this, you don't do that. And we really thought, because of the heat of that we will see the police structure saying, look, as a matter of fact, this is how it is. But that just came out less. We're still back with using the real thing. You move, I shoot. That's where we are. But there's something that Success says that we need to reiterate. And I think that for me, there's so much browbeating over the police structure, and we think that they are faulty, but it is the entire system that is faulty. So if you don't spotlight a certain segment, you will see a reflection of Nigeria. Recently, the trend on the video about the boy whose parents beat him because he flunked.
Mathematics
so
and
it brought
English.
about the argument about whether to beat a kid or not, and of course the dysfunctional homes that we all grew up from. I mean, people came in and said, "Well, if my mom didn't put pepper around my body, I don't have been as I am now."
Yes.
And I wanted to tell the person, but that's why you're damaged now.
No, I'm not damaged.
You're damaged
I'm
now
not.
to think.
I mean, I wouldn't.
You're
I wouldn't.
damaged now.
I wouldn't have had
You're
sense.
damaged. For
Man,
you
I
to
wouldn't
think
have
that
had
putting
sense.
pepper
I wouldn't have
is
had
the
sense.
way, is the damage.
Yeah, the ideal.
That is the damage I'm seeing. That you think pepper applied on a human being is the way to straighten the person's behavior or attitude is the damage I'm looking on. And unfortunately, that person will carry it on to their child.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Why?
Because
Why would you carry
because
it? It's not the way forward.
it was balanced for me. I had bread on one side and I had butter on the other one,
So
and then the bread again. So
no,
I had a
good.
sandwich.
Wait, hold on. The bread now that you had, are you going to apply that bread to your child?
See, the truth is, looking back, I know I'm stubborn. Oh no.
No, but then would you put the bread? Would you
It
rub
still
What?
boils
You still
down
even
to
give it to
what
someone
you
else.
said.
What
Emotional
happens
if you have a
intelligence.
stubborn
What
child
happens?
as you?
What happens then is that we grow this kind of kids. These are the kind of thinking they have. This is the assumption. The only way they understand a threat or a problem is brute force. That's how they understand it.
But am I brute?
And then,
You know when you have kids. You know when you have kids.
and eventually, these people find themselves in the police force. And you think now suddenly somebody will tell them, you calm down, you
you have to
ask them
talk,
their
yeah.
names.
They will
and
take
then
you down memory lane.
No way.
And remind you how their parents
No,
used pepper on them.
You're asking a monkey to behave as a donkey.
No. But concerning this security area, I think their priorities are misplaced because there are some people who they really need to enforce these laws the way they are doing it. For instance, we were talking yesterday about drivers that are still overloading their vehicles. Why can't they channel their enforcement in the way they are doing it
Not
to
the
these
same
drivers?
Not the same energy.
Please, not the same energy.
They hit the whole people essential service people. When they see journalists going, that's when suddenly they're agitated. I think
It's business of priorities. They should channel it to the
somebody
right
mentioned
place.
something about the right orders that they receive from the hierarchy.
Yes.
I think it's of essence that they redirect them again and say this is what we expect and this is the manner with which you have to act going forward.
I think I stand with Coco Greg on what he said as regards what to tell the security operatives. I think if the government should tell the security operatives what to do to people that are going against the law, following the
Like a specific order, yeah?
giving them specific orders on what to do. I think this whole razzmatazz about this COVID-19 will reduce because if you see them walking on the road,
Well, you know,
I know why you laughing.
There's also,
I actually called razzmatazz.
You can also get counter.
if you make the public aware that this is actually
They could
how
also
you go
get
about
counterproductive
it.
because
Exactly.
some people will say, yes, no before.
Exactly, as Nigerians, the worst that would happen is that they will shoot
Alright,
the rubber
alright,
bullets
alright.
or they'll use taser.
All right, let's move over to the next
All right,
conversation
so
now.
see,
So
we want to talk about ASU, the federal government, and virtual e-learning. All right. So before now, we've seen that ASU had their squabbles with the federal government because of the IPPIS, and now the federal government have come in and have also said. The federal government have come in and have also, proposed something else that's paying them their salaries. And now the Ministry of Education has also come back and said that, students should go back to schools. And in doing that, we should have to employ e-learning. Now, if that is the case with e-learning, we've had ASU representatives as well come out to talk about how that would be a futile move. Seeing the structure, number one. First of all, schools do not have the equipment for e-learning. Like, how many federal universities have PowerPoint? How many of them have standby 24 hours electricity? All of those put into perspective, they've count out the idea of e-learning. Now, the thing is, if this doesn't work, it means that education would suffer with the COVID-19 pandemic. And if education suffers, it means that after now, not just our economy will see a downfall, it will be the youth the people who are supposed to, know and propagate solution for problems in the society. So if that is the case, what is the way forward for education? ASU on the one hand is saying that e-learning might not be, possible, because if this is a proposition from the federal government, it means somebody wants to gain something, monies, or use it as a cash cow.
But it's free. The federal government has come out to say it's free.
No, look at how many students have computers? How many students have access to data? How many students have electricity? Now, how many lecturers have been taught on how to
use these things?
Yes, how many lecturers have an idea? Because I went to a school where most of my lecturers do not even have phones. I went to a school where most of my lecturers did not even understand how to use PowerPoint. Honestly, it's not something to cover up. Now, how are we going to balance this so that nobody in the country educationally suffers? And we're not even talking about secondary school students who do not even know the time for the various subjects and topics that would be taught via television and all of that. And even when they know, they're not even sure of power supply at the time, or petroleum for their generators, so that they can follow up with the curriculum. So what is the fate of education in this period?
Well, I think education is suffering already as it stands now.
It becomes worse. And we hope it doesn't further suffer.
I'm okay. So go ahead.
Okay. So you reached some really, really valid points, all right? You talked about electricity, you talked about access to data, you talked about several other things.
That's important.
Very, very important, all right? You talked about especially electricity. Do we have constant electricity in the country? Or do we have the prowess to say, okay, electricity companies distribute lights at so time to so time, so people can listen, so students can listen and learn at the same time all over Nigeria? Do we have that capacity? I really don't see e-learning happening.
E-learning, all you need for the e-learning is your data and phone.
Electricity.
Your phone charged. Electricity comes to play where your phone is well charged. But we talked about Nigerians tweeting, and the truth is that majority of our youth, we have phones. And I think it's just...
How long does an average lecture last in class?
Wait, hold on.
I think we're looking at an hour.
What we should be concerned about is discipline. Does an average Nigerian youth have discipline to want to further with this e-learning? Because somebody can be online and lecture is going on and the person is tweeting or WhatsApping or Facebook
on IG.
Okay. Now we're looking at continuous learning, right? I mean, if it's the normal school calendar, in a day you go to school and you receive lectures for about 4 or 5 hours, isn't it?
Yes.
And now we're looking at every day. Every single day. Where is the funds to get the data? Where is the funds to get a generating set? Because we're not trusting.
The simple truth is that educational sector would suffer in Nigeria.
Definitely.
It definitely will suffer, because if that's actually the reality. But if you want to look at it from the side where success came up from, that's discipline. If you sincerely want to learn, you would learn.
All right, I agree. Education will suffer. We didn't put the right structures in place in the first place, so we can't be expecting a miracle now. But I also believe that we've had other forms of learning structures distant learning and all that applied. I think that I was reading about 10 universities in Nigeria that do online distant learning and distant learning and do online classes for certain categories and certain courses. Courses actually. There's some courses that they say they can do online. This has already been happening, but out of how many universities? These are like only 10 that we could pinpoint. So this is something that is doable. I think it's also from both the side of the institution itself and government. The institution itself, if it had championed that was a focus and that was something they needed to do, they would have leveraged on it and seen how they could diversify, so to say, when it comes to e-learning. I'm glad to hear that there's certain platforms now that have come up with a module for people in secondary school and the primary school where they can learn at home. And I'm hoping that will help us to understand what we can do with the tertiary institutions. But I also know that with tertiary institutions, everything can be online. There must be a time where you have to have a meet. You must actually get physical meetings. I remember once when I was doing one online program, and at one point they asked me I had to come to the campus itself for certain programs that I needed to run. So as much as we think we're touting online and e-learning, let's note that it's not as if this is so much evades the normal way of learning as we have it now. It must be something that is interchangeable.
Now there's an app, Zoom, that allows you to have like one person
Zoom has always been there. It's just that
my point is now 18 now because people are now using it due to the social
Facebook
distancing.
is coming up with hers. She's calling it I don't know if Facebook is a he or she. Facebook is calling it
all of the
it is
above.
calling it it's calling it I forgot it's something messenger. And they're looking at where about up to 50 people can
so with
that
that now a lecturer can meet everybody and still keep attendance, like attendance in International University. So we can still keep
70%.
attendance and, still give out lecture. Now, my problem is attention span. Because even in class, some people might just be in class and they're thinking, my soup for house.
I know
my girlfriend, my boyfriend. And so the attention span is really short these days. So I'm hoping that as these scholars are bringing up, innovative ways of teaching, that they also have innovative ways of keeping the attention of students, because it will be a defeated purpose if people really do not glean wisdom and knowledge from this online learning stuff.
Okay. I honestly think the attention of the students has to fall back to the students, because you have lectures already and then you're not keeping full attention. I think that falls back to you, right? It might be hard. It might be hard. Yes, discipline comes to play. It might be hard, but generally for me, honestly, I feel like this can't work because we don't have the structure in place.
And majority of our students are not with that mindset that I'm not using my phone to tweet. I'm not using my phone to do Facebook.
I'm using my data.
I'm using it to study for what?
I wasn't so much of a bad student, but when I was in school, I missed some classes. I did a lot. I missed some attendance. And now, doing this now with my phone has to be harder, and it makes you think. Our lecturers, how many of them know about Zoom? Exactly. We have lecturers that teach us based on syllabus they used in 1968. I had a lecturer in school.
Some of us were born 1968.
My bad. But I had a lecturer who would bring his note. All right. The note he used as a student, it was a student some 50 years ago, and the note he used as a student was what he used to teach us. And so we were learning stuff that probably one lecturer was dead, taught him, then he was teaching us. All right. And this is 2019. This is 2020. All right. These are the things really need to look into. Our lecturers, are they taught how to use mobile apps? Some of them aren't on WhatsApp. Ask Madam Annie. Some of our lecturers probably, worried on WhatsApp because some of them don't know how to use this thing. If we had the structure in place before now, what the coronavirus is doing is opening our eyes to many faults in society.
Exactly.
All right, and now we can complain. If we had the structure before now, because okay,
Right now, I feel that ASU should actually take it as a responsibility to get all their members, educate them and train them on how to use this
e-platforms.
Okay.
I think this just highlights where like we said, coronavirus has just exposed the
eye opener.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move over to another conversation now.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to talk about something else, but apparently,
a thief.
apparently, okay. So I want to shift my focus to religion and coronavirus here in Nigeria. All right, so religiosity and coronavirus in Nigeria. Thank you for the English word. Okay, so yesterday, Ramadan fast started. And normally when they start the fast in Mecca, there's this sort of prayers that they do down there in Saudi Arabia. That didn't hold. That fasting, I don't know what it is about. It's like a pilgrimage, some sort of, but people are there and they gathered in large numbers, but that didn't happen. All right, but in some places here in Nigeria, Lagos State, it happened. We saw people go to their mosques and they were praying in large numbers, clustered together. Pictures of people in their mosques clustered together, and this isn't the first time. All right, the government has tried, NCDC has tried, sent messages to people. And I'm sure part of those people would have our pastors, our imams, and other top people in the society. Top religious people in the society. Look, we need to stay together. We need to stay at home. Everybody knows all of these things. But, mind you, I want to put you back. I want to put your mind somewhere. Nigerians are very religious people. Number one. I would want you to believe, or I personally believe, that Nigerians would obey their religious leaders more than they would obey the government. I tell you, if the government tell Nigerians to go outside, sorry, not to go outside, Nigerians would go outside. And that's, I was going to, talk when we're talking about security, I was going to say, Nigerians are stubborn people. We should also put that into, when we want to talk about our security agencies, we should also know that Nigerians are stubborn. The point is this: we listen to our religious leaders. And our religious leaders always tell us to obey authorities, to obey them, to be obedient to God and everything. But when it comes to coronavirus, I really do not understand. Churches are opening. People really want to go to church. People will tell you, look, even if they close this, I'm going to church.
By faith.
By faith. I mean, like, there was a time we had the relaxation of the restrictions here in River State. And we had the show, and people were calling to say, look, we're going to church. The gates of hell must not prevail. And I said, it won't prevail. Yeah. I said it won't prevail. But look, tough times require tough measures, all right?
Yeah.
Our religious leaders need to help. Trust me, Nigerians believe their religious leaders more than they would obey or believe the government. And this is where our religious leaders need to come to play. Look, just imagine what happened yesterday. People clustered within the amount of numbers we're receiving in Lagos State, which might be even more because we're not doing rapid testing in the country, remember.
The Kano police arrest 15 imams for defying lockdown. You look at the nation again, you still see Lagos to arrange Jehovah Sharp Archbishop for.
You say Jehovah Sharp?
Are you not seeing it?
I mean, we heard stories of corrosive anointing. We had stories of people instead of hand sanitizers going to get holy water. What is holy water?
Is how you test your faith in God. Tell you, when I go to church, when I get there, whatever COVID-19, maybe I'm stepping my feet. I've heard somebody say that the moment I step my feet in the church, everything about COVID-19 has been cleared. And then if you're talking about these Muslim folks, I'm sorry, I'm not mean, I don't mean to, talk. I don't mean to talk against the religion, but then I read a tweet. I read a tweet. Somebody tweeted about under NCDC now about the rise in the mysterious death in Kano State, and then somebody came and was like, when your people were saying bar corona, and then they were drinking the water that they used to wash their hands and feet, you didn't know that you're going to die. That now that is a problem, because I don't think trying to convince it will be easier trying to convince a Christian, because some Christians try to use their rationality and logic.
That's because you think so.
But then
Put my mic on. I would love that.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You were.
I did say earlier on that someone said the best. So for me, this is where a huge problem lies, because as much as you say God wants to, God is still saying again. Where their brain ought to have been functioning, they've plucked that out and put religiosity in there. So, and religiosity just reminds me of idiocity. Idiocity.
I was going to say.
Based on what Bolu said earlier, I feel if governments want to really get people to stay indoors, I think using religious leaders will go a long way. It would go a long way.
See, the truth is, even with using religious leaders, is that, before now they've told us that religion is the opium of the people. People just need something to nullify whatever it is they feel and
whatever
want
pain
to
they feel.
prove that, they have faith towards whatever has nullified that pain.
Yeah.
So I feel like both the religious leaders and the religious followers, none would be of help. I'll tell you why. Because one time we had a pastor who called in and said he can't stop his members from coming to church because of the corporate faith that they have inside the church. And then you ask yourself, what would the members say if the pastor of that church is saying?
Bolu just showed me something on Linda Ikeji's blog, and it said coronavirus will be crushed in 1 minute if churches reopen. And
that's a Lord chosen.
But you see the truth.
Let me tell you what another pastor.
Yeah.
And this is from Apostle John Suleiman.
Yeah.
He says patients are dying in hospitals because doctors have focused majorly on those with COVID-19. There are pre-existing cases in those hospitals before the pandemic. This is an absurdity taken to the highest pinnacle. Doctors, please attend to patients with other ailments. And somebody came on and said, "Sir, I thought you used to perform miracles."
but I was going to go there. Now, the truth is, the biggest miracle churches can do is right now, provide. I know some of them have donated to government, but now cushion the effect of hunger. I mean, that's the biggest miracle they can do right about now.
See, if there's anybody that would
just
reach the
did
common
5
man
loaves
now,
into
their members are, not very well to do and all of that, so they will be able to send in palliatives. But I feel like depending on these religious leaders to tell their people to stay at home, I don't see it happening, because a lot of these people feel like God is bigger than every problem and situation. That's the idea, right? Which nobody's disputing. So if you come to church, it means that you are now under the umbrella of God. That's the idea that we also have.
Right.
So I feel like these religious leaders,
if at all federal government would be able to get CAN to make it compulsory that all religious leaders pass the information to their people and tell them, if not, they close your church.
Some churches are not on that CAN. Let us not forget.
Clock. So it's time for us to open the phone line. Same 0817 0000951 and 0810 951 0951. If you send in your text messages, we will read them, and even your WhatsApp messages, we'll read them as well. So send it to 0701 933 9962. Who's on the line now? 95.1 FM. Hello. All right, we lost that one. The call is back. We have a couple of messages. Let's read them.
All right, this one says, good morning, all in-house presenters. My name is George Judge from Roma War Odegu. Trump stopped funding the WHO is politically motivated by American government. Well, Trump is the president of America. So, okay, this one says low. The new one is sending messages to OAP and telling them how the lockdown has affected them and that the journalists should help them with 3K. Lol, all these are creative ways of begging. Ernest from Wuji. This one says, good morning, crew. Nigerian police is not the only problem right now. The country is not working. A lot of things are going wrong right now. For Nigeria to work, there must be a restructuring of the country, not just the police force, but the entire country structure, especially our grand norms, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I believe after COVID-19, the government power would cause real change to happen.
Sorry. 95.1 FM.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Akanimo.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, we are talking about Nigeria being so religious. I want to say that it's not that, yes, they are religious people. You cannot tell me just that doctor, where if you go and visit doctor and meet a doctor, anything that the doctor tells you is what you believe. The same thing that going to church, what pastor tell you is what you also believe.
All right, thank you very much. 95.1 FM.
Good morning, Canada.
Yeah, good morning. What's your name?
I want to just touch on two issues. The issue of e-learning.
Okay.
First, in this country, we have just made it look like everything is impossible to work. That is just the mentality. Even right from the government down to the citizen, down to us itself, just made it look like everything is impossible to work out in Nigeria. Now, I want to take a look at, as you say, they actually have a point. But why don't we start first? That is first. Let us see. I'm taking a look at, the aspect of, what comes along when students are in school writing exams manually, the textbook and all the rest of it. With e-learning, all those things will be scrapped. No more money for them during this COVID period. So, then, in the part of the government, they are not sincere. They're coming down to fighting of COVID-19 and how Nigerians are responding to it. It's in the minds of Nigerians that they are not to be trusted. So, telling Nigerians that sit at home. Some people are listening to the radio sometimes. Some people are saying, when all of you politicians are for Nigerian government to convince its citizens and their institutions, even their institutions, there is no trust. Convince us that we should. So it's just mistrust. Everything is happening.
95.1 FM.
Hello, Canada. My greetings to all of you in the studio.
Good morning. DK, welcome.
Yes, DK. Thank you. Let me start with the e-learning. I think Bulu is more realistic to the point.
one, we don't have the structure. Two, the people you even benefit most from learning are not computer literate. The professors in school, they have got to a stage that many of them don't even have time to go and learn computer. And all of you there have been students. You know.
Yeah,
Or
send
send us a message. Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's read this one, yeah?
Okay, this one says, please tell Buchira Fuad that I love her so much and I'd like to get in touch.
Why do you want to put that one? Okay, let's read this one. Buchira Fuad. She says that after the lockdown, you should contact her.
Exactly. This one from Prince Kinsley HM, who is texting in Port Harcourt, says, e-learning is the rave of the moment across the globe. Nigerian public schools shouldn't be an exemption. ASU should ensure that their members are computer literate. We should have digital rather than analog scholars. Our students have no business not studying in the comfort of their houses because of coronavirus. They should also press for the government to create the enabling and conducive environment for e-learning. The students have no choice but to embrace the times for their own good and that of the nation. This one says, presenters, I greet you. Till tomorrow, I will keep saying it. COVID-19.
Let me tell you that a member of the Christian community worldwide.
I am also a member of the Christian community worldwide, so I don't see why you should not obey government policies on this one, because
I will not obey Mr. Kalala. You want us to be dry on the sea like others?
But we've seen churches that are filled to capacity.
Yeah.
We've seen
Jehovah
churches.
Chap.
We've seen pastors who are saying, "Look, we don't need a lockdown. What we need is to come and gather in full capacity and shake the demon of COVID-19."
Do you know that we Christians in Nigeria now believe that God comes from Nigeria now?
Oh dear me! All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
God comes from Nigeria.
Okay,
wow.
let me take this one. This parish has been supporting our members with foodstuff regularly. Port Harcourt. Delight, please.
Nobody have interceded in this case by handouts, food, medic aid, and also done a lot for governments where they find themselves, local governments and even state governments. So yeah,
Okay, this one says, please, why does this seem like we depend on? Why it seems like we depend on this post is because our government has failed us on every ground, and so the people have lost trust in their leaders. This one says, coronavirus is not as a result of eating raw meat, but an explosive.
Hey,
They don't call.
read it. It's his opinion.
Device that exploded in the course of transportation.
Okay. Wow.
Were you there?
Wow.
Were you there?
Send that one from even much more at this in the studio. I am Chris O'Chris. Telling me that I should stay indoors, that they will bring palliative till now. Nothing. Okay, and Gift Anya will say is from HA, he says, I'm confused right now. Should I go out and get infected with COVID-19 and get treated, or should I just stay indoors and die of hunger? Gift from HA sent that one. Miracles on lockdown. Please, to follow us, you use
95.1fm. All right, welcome.
See, what is what you see, human mind is ruled with two thoughts, negative and positive thoughts. Nobody planned for this problem. The problem has children are in one or with their school. The last is yesterday. They downloaded the app called Blue Dog. Allow the governor. So I think all this complaint, when you want to do something, you want to seek for people's opinion.
Our complaint pretty much was on tertiary education. I think that's where we centered.
Nationwide, actually.
That's where we centered on. We see that in different states, there are things being done for primary and secondary schools, and we're saying, but we've got tertiary institutions who don't have an e-learning platform. What happens to them? Okay, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in.
Apparently, Dicky has remembered the point he wanted to make, and he says the first is that it would divide Nigerian society into two. That of the elite children that benefit from it, and those of the poor children who will lose out.
E-learning?
The second, yes, e-learning. The second point is that e-learning will be like correspondent course.
DK, yeah.
Okay, this one says, good day. Oh, my name is Gift Anyanwu from Owueche. I'm Contribute. This one says, good day. Oh, my name is Ben in Degema. It is unfortunate that we are talking of reducing out of school children and poor. I really don't.
Let them oppress for the children,
For them have to go online. The packages just come by drones, and then
the country here in Africa.
That's Rwanda.
Then
Rwanda.
I don't know, it's Rwanda. Then what you get is like you have them in CD format or something, and then so the kids can come at certain times and just learn directly from the interaction they get from the television and back forth.
Wow.
So it was like a classroom going on, in sync with what's going on in the bigger cities. So universities or primary schools or secondary schools.
And I also feel if
it's just a way to put on. So we're still not calling all those guys.
I'm sorry, but it also sounds like majority of Nigerians that as long as it's coming from federal government, there's always something behind it.
Okay, this one says that Today FM has just Valentine from Abba. Sylvanos Wushu from Brutally.
Let's do the phone lines now. Oh, we lost that one, okay?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's your name?
My name is Patrick from Elele.
Patrick from Elele. Good to have you. Go ahead.
Yeah. As I'm talking to you, the people seem not to respect government order, and it is very dangerous to our health. Even the market that is selling in Elele is going on right now. People are packed in their numbers, and it's very wrong. Anything can happen.
Closer authority there who
this is the Ikwere local government. There are people, but I don't understand why they decided to be doing it.
So right now, as you're speaking, you said the market is functional.
Woman.
Now,
Elele.
we're touching each other.
Please don't go down and be touched. Thank you for calling
Thank
in,
you very
though.
much,
And I do hope that the authorities for Ikwere local government have heard that.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Kalada, good afternoon.
Chima, welcome.
Very first time, I'm grateful. Yes, Kalada, on it will be very difficult because you need to provide the thing that the people need, first of all, before you stay at home. This one people are saying, shut down. Look, you cannot stay alive before you eat. You eat to stay up to whatever you see in the Western country, you bring it here. Meanwhile, the Western country, they are doing different things. You are not doing the same thing and what they are doing. You want people to shut down. So for me, I think there has to be a thorough enlightenment on social distancing and provide hand sanitizer.
All right,
regulate the market.
Chima, thank you very much.
And shop.
Chima, yes, we've heard you. Thank you very much for calling in. Apparently, 2 hours still is not enough.
It had better be because they can't give it more than.
No, let's do summary.
All right, next month.
What's the summary?
That's the summary.
Mine, stay tuned for the world news at 12, yeah?
Off we go.
Around the world, we've got you covered on air, online.
95.1 FM. Forward Hardcore.
All right, good afternoon. This is the world news at noon on your premium talk radio, Today 95.1 FM. I am Kalada Kurubatabo. And now the headlines. River State government says schools are yet to reopen for final lap of 2019-2020 academic session. Cautions private schools collecting fees already. Chief Judge of Rivers State Adama Laminkara releases 62 inmates under state law offense from 3 prisons. Nigeria cases of COVID-19 exceeds 1,000. On the foreign scene, 3 U.S. states for the news in details. The Rivers State government has said that it has come to its attention that some private schools have resumed for third term for the 2019-2020 academic session and are collecting fees under the guise. In a statement signed by the Commissioner for Education, Professor Kani Ebeku, the Ministry of Education states that schools are yet to resume for the third term of the 2019-2020 academic session. Hence, fees cannot be collected for effect on the 23rd of March 2020.
With that lucky. Many of you are young people, very young, from your warrants from ages 21 to about 27. So you are young, you can work, so you go and look for a good way to earn a living. You can farm, you can go and learn a trade. Don't go back to crime. It does not pay, and you might not be so lucky. You have benefited from this exercise by the grace.
And we have made our move so that some of the inmates can be released. And so today that the Chief Judge has carried out that function, we are indeed happy. I want to thank the state government too, because about a month, those ones have been released. We have been able to also release 5 federal offenders also from custody.
Our correspondent Uchendu Jawari reports that 61 males and 1 female benefited from the gold delivery exercise. The leadership of Duke Vigilante Group has reacted to allegations of kidnap, rape, torture, and rough handling of some individuals, including a 21-year-old female in the area. The 21-year-old female claimed